bookyourhearing.com.au.
Treasurer Stephen Mulligan has handed down his first state budget. Matt Abraham says it includes cost of living relief for struggling families and pensioners.
Relief includes reintroducing the outer areas car rego concession, that's worth $12 million, and a $100 subsidy for government school parents, caregivers and independent students for the materials and services charge in the 22-23 school year. That's worth $24 million. As promised, the budget tips big dollars into health. $2.4 billion in new spending, including a total of 554 additional hospital and mental health beds. Over 4 years, it plans 350 more paramedics and AMBOs, 304 new nurses and 101 new doctors, with a price tag of $124 million.
A mother whose baby was abducted at Clemsick this week says she's still traumatised by what happened. Erica Carter had popped into a deli to get a loaf of bread when she heard her car driving off with her 4-month-old son still in the back. She's told Seven of her instant terror.
I was just yelling, my baby Jordan, and I couldn't get to him. And off he went. And I thought the worst.
The car was found abandoned at Enfield a few hours later with baby Jordan still inside, hungry but okay. A 37-year-old man has pleaded guilty to car theft and child abduction but maintains he didn't know the baby was in the car when he took it. A Fullerton man's been charged with deception over a fake property investment scheme. Mel Usher has the details.
Detectives from the Serious and Organised Financial Crime Investigation Section arrested the 39-year-old man for 4 counts of aggravated deception and 1 of deception totalling $6 million. The offences were committed between April 2019 and July 2020 and involved 5 victims. It's alleged the man obtained money for a property investment scheme he was promoting, but there was no scheme and he used the money for other purposes. He's been bailed to appear in the Adelaide Magistrates Court in August. None of the money has been recovered. Detectives are investigating whether there are any further victims.
Australia has reiterated its commitment to tackling climate change during a visit to Samoa. Foreign Affairs Minister Penny Wong has travelled to the Pacific country to strengthen our diplomatic relationship. It's her second trip to the region in 10 days after last week's visit to Fiji. Senator Wong says she wants to boost our engagement.
We want to make a uniquely Australian contribution to the Pacific family and most importantly, we are deeply committed to taking stronger action on climate. We were elected with a mandate to do so.
2,868 new COVID cases have been reported in SA today. Another 2 people have died with the virus, a woman in her 80s and a man in his 70s. 241 people are in hospital, including 9 in ICU. We currently have almost 17,500 active cases in the state. A gunman has killed at least 4 people on a hospital campus in Oklahoma in the latest mass shooting in the US. The BBC's David Willis reports.
The local police chief described the scene there as catastrophic. Well, it's since emerged that there were 4 people killed by this gunman who then committed suicide, shooting himself. A 6th person is said to be in a critical condition. Now, the White House says that President Biden has been informed of this incident. It's thought that the gunman in this case was looking for a particular doctor in this hospital complex. It's not clear whether indeed he managed to make contact with that physician.
Now turning to 5AA sport. It's selection night in the AFL. Patrick Parnell will debut against West Coast on Saturday. Tom Doedee is adamant the team won't be taking the club lightly. The Eagles are currently bottom with just 1 win for the season, while the Crows have lost 5 straight games. Doedee says they need to attack the game hard.
We're going to be favourites again for the first time since the GWS game, and obviously that didn't go too well. But we as a team know that any sort of complacency at this level can be dangerous for you, and we've got to treat it as if these guys are top of the ladder and flying, and we've got to bring our best for 4 quarters. Otherwise, we're going to face the same fate that we did the last 5 weeks.
Casper Ruud is through to the semi-finals of the French Open after outlasting Holger Rune in 4 sets. Marin Cilic is also through after he won in 5 sets against Andrei Rublev. And Andrew McDonald will miss the start of his first tour as Australia's head cricket coach after contracting COVID. Now checking 5AA traffic.
At Athelston, urgent civil works Gorge Road near Model Avenue. Round Park, got a breakdown there on the north-south motorway near Tate Street. Belair maintenance works Russell Street near Sheoak Road causing a few delays delays for the drive home. And Glenside pit works continuing Fullerton Road near Glen Osmond Road as you're heading outbound. Busy at the moment, South Road as you're driving through Hindmarsh with cameras Fisher Street, Malvern and Kings Road at Paralowie. It's Telstra Day. Get unreal deals for one day only with great savings on a range of phones. Don't miss it. Today only. Shop in store or online. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast. Cloudy this afternoon 15, showers tomorrow 15, Saturday showers 15 and Sunday showers continuing 14. Right now it's 13 degrees. Now let's hear what's happening on 9 News Tonight.
Accused of being the worst child sex predator in SA history, the Northern Suburbs RAF sergeant now facing hundreds of charges. An elaborate homemade device sparks an Eastern Suburbs bomb scare. What's in the state budget for you? Plus, could a blood pressure pill taken by thousands of Australian women raise the risk of breast cancer? I'm Kate Collins. See the full story on 9 News Tonight at 6.
$13.95, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Jade Robran.
Well, welcome back to the program. Celebrations for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee will get underway late this afternoon. Her Majesty will appear on the Buckingham Palace balcony for the RAF flypast that will take part around about 7-8 o'clock our time. The 96-year-old monarch won't be attending the earlier trooping of the colour. Prince Charles will be there and will take the salute, and we'll also see Prince Harry and his wife Meghan there, which I think is great. Earlier in the day, the Queen sent her private secretary to pick up the family, also her security team. They were sent to pick up Meghan and Harry and their 2 children, and apparently were taken straight to the palace. And according to The Sun, Harry and Meghan have been given prime seats to watch the trooping the colour at the palace. They've confirmed that the 2 will line up with the Duchess of Cambridge and Duchess of Cornwall, but there will be no Prince Andrew. He has not been given a seat. They'll also be joined by Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie and also Zara Tindall. The official program, it was released a little earlier today, and the Queen, well, she's written a message sending thanks to the millions of people around the world who are sharing with her all these celebrations. And she says, thank you to everyone who has been involved in conveying communities, families, neighbours and friends to mark my Platinum Jubilee in the United Kingdom and across the Commonwealth. I know that many happy memories will be created at these festive occasions. I continue to be inspired by the goodwill shown to me and hope that in the coming days it will provide an opportunity to reflect on all that has been achieved during the last 70 years as we look to the future with confidence and enthusiasm. Are you celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee in any way? We'd love to hear from you. 8223 0000. And we are joined by our very own special guest who is preparing to celebrate the occasion. Welcome to the program, Her Excellency, Governor of South Australia, Honourable Frances Adamson, AC. Good afternoon, how are you?
I'm very well indeed, thank you, Jade.
And you come bearing gifts.
Well, I do. Not so much gifts, actually. I have brought something with me, which I'm not sure whether Show and Tell works on radio, but perhaps it does on live streaming.
We are live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. So if you are tuned in, this is something very special.
It is something very special, and it's something that we'll be showing at our open house at Government House from 12 until 4 on Sunday, and all South Australians welcome to come and see this for themselves. But what we've got is, well, let me just...
A
bell, a crystal bell, and this was the bell used by Her Majesty during her 1954 visit to South Australia, her first as sovereign. She stayed at Government House for 8 days, and that fact is sort of commemorated, if you like, or celebrated, I think we could say, on a brass plaque on the door of the morning room. But the Queen sat in the morning room and received visitors, and we know exactly which chair she sat in, and if anyone on Sunday wants to know, including perhaps some younger South Australians, will be happy to show them which one. But when the audience had finished, when a particular caller's time was up, if you like, the Queen would ring this bell, and we're very privileged indeed to have had, it's in private hands in South Australia, it's been lent back to us for the weekend, and I have no doubt it will be rung from time to time.
So how did this come about? Is it a family heirloom of somebody's in South Australia and they lent it to her during her visit? Or?
Well, it was something at Government House at the time. How it came to be at Government House, we've got very good records of most things, but how it came to be at Government House, I'm not absolutely certain. But a bell was needed. In fact, we still use bells to this day, but not crystal ones, for different purposes. And then it was kept in private hands and, as I say, generously, along with some other memorabilia that we'll be showing on Sunday, some of it not actually seen broadly by the South Australian public before. So there will be plenty to see, even as no doubt, and you've just mentioned them, there will be some wonderful images coming to us from the UK of their celebrations. Of course, we are celebrating the Queen's service as our own Queen in her own right and in our own right, but there's plenty to celebrate there. And of course, 7 visits to South Australia, many of which your listeners, or some of which your listeners, perhaps your older listeners, will remember, but even younger ones as well, because the Queen's really visited first in 54, as I said, in the 60s, the 70s, twice in the 80s, in the 90s, and most recently in 2002.
She is such a part of the fabric here, and I know many of our listeners think upon her times here very fondly, and we would love to hear from you. If you have seen her, or perhaps was able to present a bouquet, or your paths crossed in the many times that she has been to South Australia, we would love to hear your story. So call in and share them, 8223 0000. So as we touched on, the streets in the UK are being lined with people to celebrate what will be 4 days of incredible parties and they just adore her. Many people here in South Australia do as well. And you are inviting some very special people to Government House to join in and celebrate as well. What are some of the activities?
Well, what we're going to be doing, and just to be clear, there are 2 main activities, and the first one, perhaps we'll talk about that first, because the lights will be switched on at Government House in 2.25 hours for our illumination. Now, across Australia, government buildings, public buildings, government houses certainly are being lit up purple, and that will be the case in South Australia as well, in ways that have been familiar to us on other special occasions. At Government House, we're going what I would call Purple Plus, and what we're doing is projecting onto the facade of Government House some wonderful images, 35 in total, from the Queen's visits to Australia, and obviously with a focus on her time in South Australia. They will obviously be in colour. There will be some sound to accompany that. The gates will be open between 5:30 and 8:30, and we're inviting members of the public, notwithstanding it is a little chilly at the moment, so please wear coats. I don't think any rain is forecast for this evening, but there will be an opportunity, and it's really 3 minutes. The photographs will be rotated, and some of the footage on a 3-minute basis, so you don't need to spend long there, but I imagine most people will want to watch it more than once, because the images really are very significant images, and they speak to our history and I suppose the Queen's sense of service, and I think her deep affection for Australia and of course for South Australia.
You did a little bit of a run through last night, and I've just got a little sneak peek of what the building looks like, and we can pop that up on our socials if you like, so that people can have a sneak peek and entice them to go there, because wow, it is really spectacular. That's very
It is spectacular. I've just posted it on my Insta account, and that will mean somewhat over 8,000 people will see it if they're all switched on at the moment, but I'm sure your socials will have an even greater coverage.
So
but of course the other thing is, I mean, Government House is a wonderful building. I always think of it as a house for all South Australians, and it's a lovely opportunity to come into the gardens and to see the house lit up for this, well, truly unique occasion. I mean, 70 years on the throne is really without equal in the modern era, and certainly for a British monarch and for our sovereign.
What does it mean for us here in Australia and South Australia?
Well, look, I think people will reflect on this in different ways, and obviously there are a number of South Australians, I think actually a very significant number, who have a deep affection for the Queen. I think many South Australians would simply acknowledge that 70 years of service, not only the length of the service, but I think the dedication with which the service has been given. And on the very day she became Queen, the Queen committed to serving for her lifetime, and I think that is something that we can all admire. Of course, there have been some ups and downs, absolutely, but in global terms, she is literally without peer, and I think acknowledgement of this unique achievement will go well beyond the Commonwealth, well beyond the UK, Australia, the whole Commonwealth. It's something that's being recognised globally.
What's been your involvement with the Queen personally?
Oh, look, like many South Australians, of my vintage, shall I say, I first saw the Queen actually at St Peter's Cathedral at a service that she attended, the Duke of Edinburgh attended. In fact, he read a lesson, and I was there as a schoolgirl in 1977 when she was here for the Silver Jubilee. And at that stage, I was keeping a very brief diary every day, and I looked back into my diary entry for that day in March 1977, and I noted that there were thousands of people on the streets, that the Duke of Edinburgh had read the lesson beautifully, and that the Archbishop had given I wrote a good, and then I inserted V, a very good sermon. So that was the first time I saw Her Majesty, and then as a diplomat, during my career as a diplomat, I twice served in London, and that meant that I was accredited to the Court of St James, as it's called. I served and worked at Australia House in the mid-1990s from 93 to 97, and then from 2005 to 2009 as Deputy High Commissioner. And in that role particularly, I met Her Majesty on a number of occasions, and some of them were state occasions, the opening of Parliament down at the Palace of Westminster, when part of my role was to be there and to take note of what the incoming, as I recall it was, the Blair government was proposing to do in 1997 as read by Her Majesty. I certainly attended Trooping of the Colour ceremonies on several occasions with Rod and our children. I also attended royal garden parties at which the Queen and Prince Philip and members of the royal family were mingling, if you like, with rather large numbers of people, but we were among them. Also, the diplomatic reception, a white tie reception at Buckingham Palace, wonderful occasion. I remember the Queen spoke to me, Prince Philip spoke to Rod. We had good, very warm interactions there. And then there were other formal, significant occasions. For example, a service to commemorate the bicentenary of the ending of the slave trade at Westminster Abbey. And Her Majesty was there then, and I was fortunate enough to be present also. Royal Ascot, for example, meeting Queen Scouts at Windsor when the Queen was there as well. So look, over those years, quite a number of occasions, and of course I think back very fondly on those times as well. And indeed, look, commemoration's important thanks to Australia. The centenary of Australia House, our diplomatic mission in London. The Queen visited in 2010. There was a reception held then. I was there with then Foreign Minister Stephen Smith as his Chief of Staff. So a number of occasions, but all of them, I think, giving me firsthand just a sense of her service and certainly her affection for Australia.
Such an incredible woman. What is her aura like?
Oh, look, it's approachable, I would say, but with a degree of formality, a very lovely sense of humour and humanity, I suppose you could say, a very keen interest in what's going on in the world, a curiosity about all sorts of things, and of course incredibly well informed and well briefed. And I'll be unveiling later this evening a portrait of one of my predecessors, Dame Roma Mitchell, as governor. And when she visited London, the Queen had asked her whenever she came, could she please let her know, because she'd very much like to see her. And of course, Dame Roma was suitably modest about all of this, but she did let the palace know when she was visiting as governor, and on every occasion I'm told that she visited, the Queen most definitely wanted to see her. So there have been all of those private conversations, I suppose, that she's had with South Australians, and that wonderful occasion, I watched it on a YouTube video, I think, where when Her Majesty's statue was unveiled outside the morning room at Government House here in Adelaide, my predecessor, the Honourable Hugh Van Ley, and the then Premier Stephen Marshall had a Skype call with the Queen when they spoke in a very sort of a lovely, warm, slightly amusing. I think it made everyone smile. It was just a beautiful occasion. She was sort of wondering why a little bit puzzled at the statue, but I thought it might be off-putting for anyone looking out the window. But of course, truly, she recognised the honour that was being paid to her, and of course had agreed that it should happen. And of course, that will be something I'm sure that members of the public will want to come and have a closer look at on Sunday afternoon and be photographed alongside.
Isn't that funny? Very humble and
Oh,
cheeky.
very.
And when visitors come on over the weekend, even little touches like seeing memorabilia like you touched on, but the state dining room will be set up. It will be quite an experience.
It will be. I mean, our staff are already hard at work doing this, because even in the modern era, and I think we probably have fewer things on tables than would have been the case and will be the case for Sunday afternoon, but when the dining table in the state dining room is fully laid, there are over 400 items on it. And in addition, on Sunday afternoon, there will be what is being called, in the UK at least, the Platinum Pudding. There was a competition for a pudding to mark this wonderful occasion. There were 5,000 entries, and we will have, the winning entry will have been recreated by Government House chefs and will be there for members of the public to see. I mean, our focus is on Australia, but obviously this is something that goes well beyond Australia and looks quite delicious, I have to say, having seen photos of it. I do hear it's a bit of a bother to make, I'm told.
That's very UK, is a bit of a bother. Is it a fruit type pudding?
No, it's I think it's got Swiss roll around the base of it. It's essentially it's a trifle, but all sorts of other special ingredients. It looks stunning, and I'm hoping, if all goes well, I might be able to have a taste on Sunday night.
And what would be a Queen's party if you didn't have a cuppa and scones as well? Will they be on offer?
Yes, they will be, and that's what I thought too. I mean, in previous years, we've been very fortunate to have a Country Women's Association tent in the grounds, and people have paid for tea and scones. I thought for the Platinum Jubilee, we should serve them ourselves in the Government House courtyard and just make them available to members of the public. We'll do our best to keep up with the china and to keep the scones going, but the chefs are hard at work.
Oh, it sounds beautiful. Now, I've got to ask this question before I let you go. I find it really bad timing, to be honest. The Labor government has come out today to say that it will put Australia becoming a republic back on the agenda. What's your reaction to that?
Look, these things are very much a matter for government. Obviously, it's not my role to comment. They're a matter for government, but ultimately they are for the Australian people to decide. That's how our democracy works, and that is something for the future.
Well said. Now, you can head to Government House from June 2 to the 5th, and the beautiful light show at Government House, it will be illuminated, like you just touched on, in about 2 hours' time, with a slideshow that does run on rotation, and it looks really spectacular. And you can jump on, and both events, they don't require bookings, and it is free of charge, isn't it?
That is absolutely the case, Jade.
Wonderful.
Everybody is welcome, regarded as a personal invitation, please.
That's so nice. Enjoy it. It's going to be a gorgeous 4 days.
It certainly will be.
Thank you so much for coming in. We're going to take a very, very short break. Coming up afterwards, I'd love to hear your stories about your interaction with the Queen. Have you met her? Did you go and line the streets and wave to her along the way? We'd love to hear your stories. 8223 0000. Her Excellency Governor Frances Adamson, it was beautiful to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jade.
Oh, it's cold outside, but it's hotting up at Harris Scarf for Giant June. Looking for a fresh new pair of post-lockdown fleecy trackies? You're warm. A new bright jumper for grey winter days? Getting warmer. New jammies to keep the cold nights at bay? Warmer, warmer. A stylish new puffer jacket? You're really warm now. How about 30% off all clothing? Hot, hot, hot. Harris Scarf's Giant June, with great prices that make a chilly winter feel like a heat wave.
Hi, it's Callum Han here, Ambassador for Pick a Local, Pick SA. If you're looking for quality fruit and veg from someone you can trust, go to those who know, your local fruit and veg store. They're the ones at the market before dawn, selecting the freshest produce from SA growers. They know what's in season, the best varieties for cooking, and have an eye for quality. Shop in stores displaying the red Pick a Local Pick SA sign and follow us on Facebook for inspiration, recipes, and more ways to enjoy South Australian grown.
Look around your house and yard. If you see old tools, broken bike frames, an old fridge and even that old car, don't look at it as junk, look at it as dollar signs. At Nor Metals, our priority is to give you the best value for your scrap metal disposal. We offer cash for scrap Monday to Friday and Saturday mornings for a range of different steel supplies and car components, including bodies and radiators. Get cash for your scrap at Nor Metals, 255 Grand Junction Road, Ottaway.
G'day, Jared here. Let me tell you, nothing is going to stop the team at Wayville Mitsubishi from giving you incredible end of financial year deals. Yes, the new showroom on Goodwood Road is going through an amazing rebuild, but there's no way that's getting between you and a new Mitsubishi. So, enter via Goodwood Road and choose from the entire range on offer today. It's game on for end of financial year deals at Wayville Mitsubishi, opposite the showground, driven by Australian Motors, LVD 80.
The passing of someone close places unique stress on family and friends. At this time, Farrell and O'Neill Funerals are here to provide reassurance and peace of mind. Farrell and O'Neill offer creative guidance and advice to tailor a service that best honours your loved one. Whether a large gathering or a small, intimate service, Farrell and O'Neill share their generations of experience in tailoring a unique and meaningful farewell. Proudly SA family-owned and operated, because it's personal.
Some Aboriginal artists paint with dots, but some sculpt or weave. Some Aboriginal musicians play the yidaki, or you might know it as a didgeridoo, but some play guitar or rap. There's more to Aboriginal artistry than dots and yidakis. Ochre Dawn Creative Industries is a First Nations business connecting Australia's ancient cultures with today's corporations by bringing your business to life through art. Ask us how. Ochre Dawn Creative Industries, bringing your story to life.
Jade Robran on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Welcome back to the program. In a short moment, we're going to talk to Mike Smithson, Channel 7 chief reporter and political expert, about the state budget. It has been handed down, so he will go through it in fine detail and get us fully across that. Got a lovely message here from Isabel. Jade, thank you for this wonderful opportunity to see our governor voice such a wonderful memories and reflections of our beautiful Queen. Thanks, Isabel. It was, wasn't it? Hearing all those personal stories. How lucky. What an incredible experience. I wonder what it would have been like to stand in the gardens of Buckingham Palace, and what just the simple things of how you're even let in, or how does the invitation, how is that presented to you, and what does it look like? Just all those fine details. We ran out of time, but I had all these questions to ask. But what an incredible experience and memory. And like I said, I would love to hear from anyone that has met the Queen or has been to, one of the many times that she's visited, South Australia here. I didn't quite realise that there was so many. 7 times, the first being in 1954. She's a remarkable lady, and then the next 4 days of celebrations will be just spectacular. They're saying that 1 billion people around the world will tune in to watch the celebration. So that just goes to show, doesn't it? She's quite popular. But what are your thoughts? I'd be really keen to hear whether you feel like, Labor announcing today that they will put it back on the agenda, that, that argument whether Australia should or should not become a republic. What do you think? 8223 0000.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Good afternoon, I'm Michaela Kamarik. The Treasurer Stephen Mulligan has handed down his first state budget and, as expected, a whopping $2.4 billion will be spent on health. Police in the Northern Territory have found the body of a suspected hit-and-run victim after a leg was discovered on a highway. A mother whose baby was abducted at Clemzig this week has told of her terror as she heard her car driving off with 4-month-old Jordan still in the back seat, and it's women's semi-finals day at the French Open. Cloudy this afternoon, 15. Right now it's 13 degrees. More news at 4 o'clock and as it happens on 5AA.
Rowey's Sports Show.
If Crows go for Glenelg's Brett Turner, this is nothing against Glenelg's Brett Turner. Brett is a terrific sample player, and I think he could probably play at the level, got terrific attributes. But they've got 8 of him on that list. And no, I stand corrected. They'd have 13 of him on that list. Why would I thought this draft was for needs and you play them immediately.
4 p.m. weekdays.
If you pick a kid up, you've got to play him this year.
That's right.
Rowey's Sports Show on 5AA.
Hi ladies, Heather from Joy Ring Fashions. After many incredible years, I've decided to hang up my Joy Ring hat. Yes ladies, I'm retiring. This is your final chance to purchase quality garments at Joy Ring Fashions. Every garment in store is half price, from casual day wear to special occasion. Thank you to our wonderful customers for your support over the many years. Don't miss Joy Ring Fashion's half price closing sale, 491 Port Rush Road, Glenunga.
Good morning, Helen. How was the weekend?
Good morning, Helen.
Helen, here's those reports I was talking about. Okay, I'll come back later then.
That was Helen, before she discovered the incredible fully adjustable Ultramatic bed. Now, Helen sleeps like a baby and wakes up like... Ultramatic beds. Truly life-changing. Ultramatic.com.au.
Life is about choices, and there's plenty to choose from at a Barrow Hotel. Take the Excelsior, the Albion, the Birkenhead or the Sundowner in Whyalla, all brimming with choice, especially when it comes to the latest machines in a comfortable, safe environment, with amazing staff to give you the best experience. For the latest in machines and comfort, visit the Excelsior, the Albion Hotel, the Birkenhead Tavern or the Sundowner in Whyalla. You just know it's a Barrow Hotel. Gamble responsibly.
Guys, how long does silence have to last before it's awkward? This long? How about this? Ask a female colleague, because for Australian women, harassment and casual misogyny in the workplace is still being met with silence, leaving them feeling uncomfortable and unsupported. Find your voice by searching bethechange.com.au.
Did you know that coffin signing is gaining popularity at funerals? Guests are asked to write a message to their loved one on a light-coloured coffin. For a personalised goodbye at a price you can afford, talk to the team at simplicityfunerals.com.au.
Go big in the Nissan Patrol. It's got a huge 5.6-litre V8, a 3.5-tonne brake towing capacity, and effortless off-road performance. Pre-order your Patrol at your Nissan dealer today. T's and C's apply.
Great news for people on the move. Budget Car and Truck Rental have a new location, just north of the city at 354 North East Road, Clemzig. Open 7 days a week. So, if you're moving out or in, taking a load to the tip, or going on a big trip, you can do it all with Budget Car and Truck Rental. 7 metro locations, including their new site at Clemzig. Call 13 27 27. That's 13 27 27.
$13.95. Adelaide's 5AA. This is Jade Robran.
Oh, there it is, the Top Gun song. Go and see it. Absolutely loved it. Well, Treasurer Stephen Mulligan, he's just delivered his first state budget. And the Malinauskas government, it was their first one, as we know, and they have vowed to fix the ramping crisis amongst many other things. Joining us now is 7 News political expert and 7 News presenter Mike Smithson. Smitho, good afternoon. How are you going?
Yeah, good, Jade. It's been a busy day. I was down at the budget lock-up for a while this morning, but then had to come back for other news commitments. But as you mentioned there, that ambulance ramping was one of the key planks of Stephen Mulligan and Peter Malinowskis's promises before we went to the polls. Today, $2.4 billion will be spent on health, an extra 550 hospital beds, 100 more paramedics. So health has been the big winner out of today's budget, which I thought in many respects was a bit lacklustre. But I think that the Treasurer has underlying concerns that whilst money is coming in from house sales, and anyone who's bought a house and sees the whopping stamp duty bill they pay, and that goes straight into government coffers, that's not going to last forever. But inflation and rising interest rates is both going to be still around for some time to come. So he's making hay while the sun shines, but my assessment is this could be the easiest budget he has out of the next four.
Well, yeah, there's been a lot of money spent, isn't it? Our recovery since COVID-19 is phenomenal. We've touched on health. Let's touch on jobs and economy. What promises were made there?
Well, he wants to obviously pump up the economy as much as he can. For instance, let's just look briefly at housing for young people in particular, building 400 new homes, refurbishing another 350 existing public houses. So he really wants to get people either into houses or into Homestart with cheap loans. So low deposit loans, that's a rather big announcement. But a lot of this we've known before. Cost of living allowance for doubling for pensioners, $217 up to $450. Your ESL, I think, is going up by about 2%, which is less than the rate of inflation. And we're seeing public servants who might have thought that an axe was hanging over their head due to promised and demanded efficiency savings within the public service. He's eased up a bit on that. He said there are some savings that have already been made. I think he doesn't want to put the frighteners on public servants because they are the valuable people this state has that keeps the state running. So to put an axe through them, but 50 executives, top-paid executives, they'll all bite the dust. Some people won't say it's a great shame because maybe they do least and the people below them do most. Who knows?
Motorsport, that's alive and kicking?
Yes, well, that hasn't been ruled out. So, yes, it is alive and kicking, I'm glad to say. And that's the promise for the first weekend in December. I'm just trying to think the areas that concern me most out of this budget. For instance, $100 million is being pumped into the new Women's and Children's Hospital. And people, your listeners will say, well, where's that going? Well, at the moment, there hasn't been a sod turn. The plans aren't even done. They're all being revisited, but the price tag for our new Women's and Children's alongside the existing Royal Adelaide Hospital, the price tag was $1.95 billion. And that they're trying to add extra beds as they go. But another $100 million was pumped in that today just to keep it afloat. It hasn't started in its building phase yet. I have grave fears that this hospital is ever going to be built. I think I've said that on the show before.
Yeah.
Because building a hospital is very expensive. Building anything in this climate is expensive. And Stephen Mulligan today pointed out inflation. We just don't know where the building game's going. And that is a grave concern and one that he made quite public today.
Education, $2 million over 2 years to fund a Royal Commission into early childhood education and care, $117 million over 5 years to support the continued access to at least 15 hours of preschool each week for all children in the year before they start school. That was a big election promise prior, wasn't it, that there was more support for young families?
Well, that was huge, but that looked a little wobbly earlier in the week, where a time frame for that now has blown out. And this is what happens in budgets, Jade, that you have promises made during an election campaign, then the new government gets in and says, oh, the books, now that we're in government, don't look quite as good as we thought they'd look. So the promises we've made, and you'll hear politicians say it, we have every confidence we can keep the promise, but it just might take a little longer. Now, people forget that, and then 1 year turns into 3 years. That's what worries me about the Children's Hospital, that it is just something that just gets pushed further and further out, but it's still the fundamental promise that will go ahead. It's just when.
The government, they're new. They've had a grace period for a couple of months. When do you think that that wears off, that honeymoon period?
Well, I don't think they've ever quite had a honeymoon period, because we saw a lot of campaigning then during the federal election, and punters tend to link two governments, especially with elections so close together. But a telling remark today, when I say accosted, I interviewed the Treasurer on his way into the budget lockup. Everyone else was inside, I was outside, so he was coming up the steps of the convention centre, and I said, look, can you be honest with me? Are you feeling nervous? And he said, yes, I am a little nervous. Yeah. This is my first budget. I know I'm going to get a grilling once I get in there. Hope I have all the answers. I think it was a pretty honest effort. I think Stephen Mulligan is a very honest politician, and I think he gives it his best shot. He doesn't try and over-egg the pudding, and he told it as it is today. We've got some money coming in that we weren't expecting because the economy's taken off after COVID, but the other costs associated with the problems we've had are going up faster than the revenue coming in. So it's not now that is the problem. I would say it's in about 2 years' time is the major problem.
Mike Smithson, I know you've got to rush off and read the news now, so we do appreciate the time that you gave us today.
A great pleasure, Jade, as always.
Cheers, mate. Mike Smithson there, Chief Reporter for Politics there at Channel 7 and 7 News presenter. Let's talk to Tony now in Mawson Lakes. Hi, Tony.
Hey, Jade, thanks for the chance to speak. I just wanted to raise the point about this Republic and Commonwealth conversation.
Yes.
It's bigger than just being autonomous or monarchy, because we live in very troubled times. We're part of a Commonwealth country right now, and I see that as part of a deterrent in the greater scheme of those who would pay threat to us or would want to enact threat upon us, because consider that if they do, that immediately is going to involve all countries of the Commonwealth, Britain, Canada, Singapore, India. That's just going to draw them straight in. So an attack on Australia right now while we're Commonwealth is going to be against all Commonwealth countries. And that in itself brings a sense of security around us, which we currently have. But if we become a republic, we're going to be on our own, apart from the treaties that we are going to be able to action up with other countries who may or may not choose to support us. Our biggest ally right now is America. In the world threat, they may very well have their hands full and may not be able to help in the way that we need them to. So do we really want to put ourselves at risk in the troubled times that we find ourselves with an aggressive China by taking away the security net of being a Commonwealth country affords to us right now?
No, I don't think we do. And you touch on so many really good points, and that resonates with me personally, because I agree with you. It's like a safety blanket. It's like there's a bubble there. We're a part of a bigger, wider team, two very powerful countries. And, I just feel like for now, the world is quite volatile. So why would you mess with that?
I totally agree. I cannot see the sense of people who are talking up the Republic just are not getting the bigger picture. They're not. They're absolutely not getting what they're putting at risk for what they think they can gain out of it.
And interestingly, we've just spoken about our budget that's just been handed down. I mean, imagine the millions and millions of dollars that it's going to cost to cast this debate. We've got to fix our own backyard. Those millions and millions of dollars, spend that on transport, spend that on health, spend that on the people that can't find a house to put a roof over their heads. I think that's where money can be better spent right this very moment. So interestingly, Assistant Minister for the Republic, Matt Thistlethwaite, he spoke with Liam Bartlett on 6PR in Perth today about the Labor government, basically, starting this conversation again on whether Australia should become a republic or not.
So I've held this role for the last 5 years in opposition, and Labor's had a long-term commitment in our party platform to working with the Australian public on moving towards, hopefully, a successful referendum on a republic, and I'm very keen to begin that process with the Australian people. So my role initially is very much to try and just put this back on the agenda. It hasn't been on the agenda in Australia since 1999, to point out to people that we do have a foreign monarch as our head of state, that we can have an Australian, that there are alternatives, and then try and unite the country around a model and hopefully a successful referendum. Congratulations to the Queen. She's been a wonderful monarch and a great leader of the Commonwealth. But as she comes to the twilight of her reign, I believe that Australians are starting to think, well, what comes next for Australia? I think that we can do this in consultation with the Australian people, paying respect to the Queen's reign. Barbados became a republic last year. They did it in cooperation with the British royal family. In fact, members of the British royal family flew to Barbados for the official ceremonies. We can do that here in Australia, paying respect to the Queen, to her reign, and the achievements that she's had for Australia, but then beginning to discuss, well, what comes next for us? And we're an independent nation. We've got our own unique identity and culture. And I believe it's time that we begin that discussion. It's going to take time, but we should begin this discussion at least about what comes next for us. So my first process will be to look to educate the Australian people, to inform them that we do have the Queen of England as our head of state. Now, believe it or not, there are many that do not know that. There's a whole generation of Australians that weren't around in 1999 when this was a focus of political discourse in Australia. Newly arrived migrants, many don't understand our constitutional system. We haven't had constitutional reform for quite a while. So initially it will be educating people, then explaining that we can have one of our own as our head of state and what the alternatives are, and hopefully uniting around one of those alternatives to a successful referendum. We don't have a favoured model. The Australian Republic movement recently released a new model that involves the direct election of a president, if you like.
Do you like that?
We want to make sure. I'm going to have a look at it. I'm going to sit down with various groups. There's the Australian Republic movement. There's the Real Republic organisation. I want to sit down with the monarchists. I want to sit down with them and hear their views. We want to make sure that this is an issue that unites Australians. We're deeply conscious that the model divided Australians in 1999, and I want to avoid that situation in the future.
That is Assistant Minister for the Republic pushing his views on Australia becoming a republic. Matt Thistlethwaite there speaking on 6PR in Perth. Lots of calls coming through on this topic, also on the budget being handed down. Climate emergency in Parliament and a car race is coming in December. What a joke. Yeah, it kind of seems a bit hypocritical there, doesn't it? But maybe they could have electric vehicles doing the Clipsal 500. Who knows?
5AA's Best of SA. Do Pilates, do life, and join one of Adelaide's newest fitness families, Club Pilates Unley. Since opening this year, Club Pilates Unley have built a strong, supportive community, which makes all the difference towards reaching your health and fitness goals. Start your journey to a fitter, healthier you with a free intro class. The Best of SA, thanks to Club Pilates Unley and $13.95, Adelaide's 5AA.
A walk is an amazing thing. All it really involves is putting one foot in front of the other. But spend a little time doing it and you'll make a big difference to the way you feel. If you can find just 10 minutes a day, that's less than the time it takes to play Bohemian Rhapsody twice. You'll end up in a better place, even if you only go around the block. A walk can work wonders. So start with 10 minutes today.
A message from the Government of South Australia.
Building a fence, shed, retaining wall and so much more requires good quality steel. At Nor Metals, we've got you covered no matter what you need. From the home handyman to structural engineer, we have steel supplies to suit what you're looking for. And if we don't, we'll source it for you quickly and at the best price. Plus, we can cut your steel on site to meet your exact measurements. No matter what you need, you'll get it at Nor Metals, 255 Grand Junction Road, Ottaway.
Introducing the Wheels Car of the Year, the fully electric Kia EV6. Leading the charge with over 500 kilometres of driving range, newfound levels of technology, performance, build quality, refinement and luxury. The judges were unanimous. The Kia EV6, Wheels Car of the Year. To find out more, visit kia.com.au.
Kia,
movement that inspires.
It's value the Australian way at Coles. Right now, you'll get triple Flybuys points on thousands of Coles brand products. Only at Coles. Offer ends June 28 on selected Coles branded products. See in store for details. Excludes Coles Express. Standard T's and C's apply.
Hello, Geeks to You.
Yes, hello.
My printer has turned into a shredder.
Okay, let's fix it.
Oh, thanks.
Tech problems? For remote or on-site help, go to geeks2u.com.au or 1300 geeks to you.
Are you looking for a better job? A job with more flexible shifts, salary packaging, and great learning opportunities? A job with a charity where you can make a difference to the lives of older people every day? Southern Cross Care has roles available across SA for nurses, carers, chefs, cleaners, allied health professionals, and more. Work with an amazing team who will care about you and help you build the career you want. Apply now at southerncrosscare.com.au.
Hey, it's Jodie Oddie. Join me on July 23rd for Samri's Bright Walk, a powerful one-night challenge raising $500,000 for life-saving research. Bright Walk will last a few hours, but its impact will last generations. Starting in the cold, dark night, Bright Walk will test your grit, but you'll be inspired by bright lights along the secret path, culminating at the Cheese Grater building. Dare yourself to help Samri's brightest minds discover health breakthroughs. Join me and register at samribright.org.au.
Jade Robran on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
Welcome back to the show. It is 8 minutes to 4 o'clock. And of course, coming up after 4 o'clock, it's Rowey Sports Show. Good afternoon.
Hello, Jade. This might be a bit harsh, but I think the Sanford Grand Final was decided last night in the AFL mid-season rookie draft. Glenelg lost 2 players, and just on that, to the 6 South Aussies, fantastic. I've lived it. When your kid gets drafted or when you see the joy on their face, it is next level fantastic. So to Brett Turner from Glenelg, who's picked up, that is great. It's the system we work with. He now plays against the Crows. Now tell me any other industry where that could happen.
Can't. It can't. It's awesome. Dreams are made. It's beautiful.
Yeah, anyway. The system's broke. I don't like it.
Oh, sorry. You mean that halfway through the season they're ripped out and the SANFL teams are depleted. Sorry. That's awful for them.
From 2 different comps. Now, I get it's in the NBL, the NFL, the NBA. It's in, the Premier Leagues and all of that. But not a different comp. It's ridiculous. They show no respect. I don't like it. The system's broke. Cover that. We've got Rory Sloan, Caro, and your calls. We will see you at 4.
Thank you, Rowey, very, very much. Let's talk to Pat. Hey, Pat.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
First of all, I just want to say you're an asset to the station, Jade.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice to hear that. Thank you.
No, that's okay. While I'm phoning, I was one of the little wattle girls back in 1954 when the Queen came to Adelaide.
Oh, wow.
We performed at the Adelaide Showgrounds. And if people want to go into the royal visit to when the Queen came, you can see it on YouTube and you can see the performers. I was only 9.5, but I'm just going to play, only goes for a second, the music from when we danced on in our little costumes, okay?
Please
Here we
do.
Go. Okay.
Oh, we can't quite hear it,
Just
Pat.
bear with me.
Yep. Oh, that is just gorgeous. What a beautiful memory. When you were 9.5. I'm going to jump on YouTube and watch that. Thank you, Pat, for calling in. We've got Sue. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Jade. How are you?
Really good.
I can't top that.
I know, that's pretty special, isn't it?
But like all of us, the Queen's been sitting on the throne, as it were, for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a monarchist. I'm, I think, 4th generation Australian. And I just can't cope with the idea of, we know where the monarch's going to come from, what family, whereas we could wake up tomorrow and Clive Palmer's President of Australia, okay?
Oh, help
if we went
us.
Republic. Yeah, I know. Sorry, that's put you off your dinner, I know. But, sorry, I'd like to think when the Queen does abdicate, and she's going to have to soon, that Charles says no, he's too old, he's unpopular. I'd like to see him hand over the will.
So many people would. I just can't see that happening, though.
Oh, no, but he's 70-something. I mean, not that that's that old. My partner's that old, but, yeah. But one last line, and I threw this at Jade, Angie McBride the other day.
Mm.
She's 96. Mm. Dick Van Dyke's 96. Wouldn't that be a great dance routine? Yeah.
yeah, I like that. Thanks, Sue. Hi, we've got Marino on the line. Hi, Marino.
How are you, mate? How are you? That was funny, though.
It was. She's clever, Sue. She sends me some very, very funny messages. Some I can't put to air, but I have a giggle on the inside.
Fair enough. Look, everything basically that I was going to say has been said while I've been listening, except for one little thing. I'd like to make a correction to that gentleman that said that if we become a republic, we're no longer part of the Commonwealth. Well, I think he's very wrong, because most of the Commonwealth are republics now and are still part of the Commonwealth. Before Commonwealth, we were known as the Empire. And that's when we were all part of the monarchy. But now we are all part of a Commonwealth, not necessarily, and most of us are republics.
I think it'll remain that way for quite some time, Marino. Let's talk to Brenton. Hi, Brenton.
Hey, you.
Very good.
Hey, my attitude for the republic is it will be depending on how we vote for the president. Who, if you've got $100 million like Clive Palmer has, I don't want a republic if he's going to get in, that type, that's my attitude. I mean, if it was like someone else we can arrange the vote, and we have a choice of, like the Senate ticket in our vote, we have a whole bunch of them that want to put their hand up, we can choose, great. But if there's only going to be someone who's not the American system, your money buys you the bloody presidency, well, nah, I'm not into it. And two, there's not that much wrong with Prince Charles, mainly because the view that we have is based on Murdoch News in the UK selling papers. So they'll be printing anything that's crap to sell a paper. So we've got the wrong view of him. From what I've seen, he does a damn good jolly job.
Well, he really resonates with the younger people these days through all his climate change work, and I feel like his popularity has certainly turned around in the last few years. But
he does, yeah. He's got a lot of am I saying this right? Eclecticism or whatever it is.
He's
called.
A bit eclectic for a royal.
Yeah, but he has a lot of good nature to him on his own estate, with other people and the towns he owns, and etc. So there's another side of him which we don't get to see because we've been fed shit, to put it blankly.
Well, yeah, you watch you tune on to the Sun or the Daily Mail, and everyone's infighting and hating each other. And I feel like after these 4 days, we're going to see a much more united family. I hope so, anyway. Anyway, we've got to wrap things up. We've got Rowey Sports Show coming up next, but as we look up on the screens, there's crowds flocking to watch the Jubilee. So we'll bring you all the latest on that on the show tomorrow. Thanks so much for being part of the program today. Have a great afternoon. Look forward to talking to you again tomorrow.
Whether you live south of or near the city, when it comes to driving a new Mitsubishi, you have two clear standouts. Wavell Mitsubishi